family is gone, housework is done. I think I can actually hold a schedule now. And to do so, I'm trying to get back into things a little bit easy by going back to a Revenge of the Fallen Scout class figure, which are fairly simple, and hey, Revenge of the Fallen made some really weird Scout class figures, so they are usually worth talking about. In this case, it's going to be Dirt Boss. Alright, everyone, say it with me now. Let's get it all out of the system right away. He tried to kill him with the forklift. Alright, everyone good? Alright, we can move on now. So as you can see, he is a little tiny forklift in almost Constructicon colors. He's in a nice lime green plastic and not showing any purple, so he's not completely going there, but it's definitely invoking it. No, for added color and to break up the green, he's got quite a bit of gray all throughout his body, and then some gold around to the rear, down here on the kick plates, as well as on the side of the actual lift of the forklift. So he does have a little bit of color going on, not a whole lot, but hey, it's a tiny little vehicle. This is a first. I believe the only other forklift you're going to find in transforming robots is going to be from, I want to say GoBots. That's pretty much it. It's not the best, it's not the vehicle you would think for an alien warrior of any kind, but hey, this was a weird time. You can see inside there is an actual seat that has been molded in, as well as a steering wheel, complete with a little knob on the wheel like an actual forklift. So they did pay attention to detail. Little lights have been molded into the roll bar, as well as a bit of a bumper in the back, a bit of an exhaust. I honestly don't know what that is. I believe the motor's back there, so I'm probably not wrong. For the most part, yeah, it's pretty simply detailed, but they did manage to work in a lot. You know, diamond plates right there on the side panels. There's a little bit of ridging along the front and top, whatever. Around the front, the forks have been molded in gray, as well as the lift itself, all in green. Again, not a whole lot to talk about here. You know, I'll give all the credit in the world for trying to work with the Constructicon theme that movie had with its toy line, but still presenting something rather unique. It's extremely bizarre, but hey, it kind of works. Let's get them transformed so we can just see what kind of robot a forklift makes. I can start by popping the legs out from here and extending them down, folding out the feet, and that's pretty much it for the legs. We'll get back to them soon. Everything else has to get split. All this is pegged in. All of this at the top is pegged in. With all that, this whole thing basically turns inside out, and that rear portion becomes the torso. So all of this has to get folded out. Now with this, fold all of this to the back. That kind of folds up into a backpack. And then epic head reveal. They really liked those around this time in Transformers. Straighten out the arms, straighten out the forks to work as arm weapons. That's pretty much it. He is basically done. That is your Revenge of the Fallen Dirt Boss in robot mode, and he actually has a lot more going on in this mode than he did as a little tiny forklift. I'll give them credit. Sometimes I didn't agree with Revenge of the Fallen's engineering standards, but at the same time, they managed to work some really interesting looking robots in from what really didn't look like they would amount to much vehicle modes. It's kind of a nice visual trick they went with. Let's take a look at that head, because the movie heads around this time were distinctly movie style, whereas movie 1, they didn't quite have it down yet. Here, yeah, you can see all that heavy ridging, all the heavy molds and lines through the face. Much, much more than what you would expect out of a movie-style figure. He's got these really weird, like, beady red eyes. He's almost like a Terminator staring through. There's no angle to them or edge at all. It's just round pupils. It's actually quite creepy. The only other detail to the head is a little bit of green on the side, and that's not a whole lot. It's not a big deal, really. So looking at this guy, he's got a lot of molding going on and a lot of paint that he did not have present in his vehicle mode. It's a really cool visual trick because there's like really none of this. None of this was seen. It's a very drastic change. So we see here in the chest, all centered around this one big red button that looks like it will erase history, but no, it's just a little red detail for some reason. There's kind of like a beige gold. It's a very pale color, but it is definitely metallic surrounding the entire edge. It's kind of hard to describe, but you can see it all kind of trimming around the gray torso, which gives it this nice layer of depth, as well as some much needed color through here. It doesn't go with like the gray or the green. The gold makes a return in the legs, or it is the same shade of gold, but with it painted on the green, it actually comes out just a little bit more vivid. I don't know if that's just because it's against the green or if the green is coming through the paint a little bit. That's something that actually does happen from time to time. As you can see, pretty standard here. We get a little bit of red on the sides. Yeah, this is where the wheels hang out because, where else would they be at this point? Yeah, not too bad. There is some extra molding going along just to get some mechanical detail all through him. This is a Movie 2 toy, so mechanical detailing is the name of the game. You can see the arms themselves. The camera seems to like to dull this out, but in person, it's a little bit more easy to tell the details through. It's actually just a shade off from being just like an obnoxious color. So in that sense, it's a pretty good balance. So all around, this is not a bad looking figure at all. They got a lot of molding in here. Nothing is overly complicated, and the engineering is actually pretty simple and clever. So this is ranking up pretty high so far. And I do like the idea of using these forks as kind of tonfa weapons. It definitely makes sense, and it gives him a bit of accessory in a size class that at the time really wasn't known for having any additional parts or weapons that came with them. For articulation, let's take a quick look. The head, can the head rotate? I don't think the head can rotate, actually. Wow. Okay, so it's been a while since I've actually picked up and played with this figure, so that's actually kind of surprising. That's usually a very basic thing that's included. Okay, so moving beyond that, we do have ball-jointed shoulders and elbows, so all of that has full rotation and range of movement, and it all has a pretty good range to it. Nothing really impeding or impairing anything. So my right elbow is exceptionally loose. I don't know if this is from playwear or if they were all like this. Your mileage may vary. Nothing around the waist, ball-jointed hips that have a good range, ball-jointed knees that have a good range, as well as some hinges at the ankles just in case you need them. So his articulation's pretty basic. The essential 8 points of articulation are there. And I guess at this size, having an automorph head gimmick should not surprise me that he does not have neck articulation, but it's usually a very simple thing that's almost always included. So it's kind of a surprise to see it missed out here. So that's a bit of a knock against him. If I'm going to knock anything, again, it might be the backpack, just because he's got a lot of vehicle mode stuff that just kind of all folds into his back. And this is what a lot of the Movie 2 figures did, and it's what kind of turned me off from their engineering. I kind of realized they didn't really transform. They just kind of took their car off and wore it. That's pretty much what we got going on here. But I do think he does a much smoother job of it, especially because the main feature of the forklift, the actual forks, are prominently included in his robot mode, as they should be. So that, in a nutshell, is our Revenge of the Fallen Dirt Boss. He's a quirky little figure. The vehicle mode is definitely unique amongst Transformers at a time of which it's very hard to find a unique alt mode. And if you've got a collection of Revenge of the Fallen Constructicons, I'd say he fits in quite well with the batch. And even if you don't, I think he's a neat figure that's worthy of owning. A little bit restricted in the articulation department, but I think the engineering and especially the uniqueness of it really makes up for that. So that's a toy line that has forklifts, biplanes, toasters, Oh yeah, there's a microscope in there too. I tend to forget about that one. I think a lot of people try to forget about that one.